adult Sunday school leaders, let's look ahead and see what we have in store for this coming Sunday. We have a one-lesson special focus unit on hospitality. And the passage is out of Luke chapter 14, verses 12 through 24. And the point of the lesson is that hospitality is a practical way to share Christ with others. So I just have a couple of things I want to share with you today. A couple of points to think about as you go into the preparation of your Sunday's lesson. And that is, when you think of hospitality, of course you think of fellowships. And now that we're back into the swing of things, school has started, it might be a good time for your class to consider having a Sunday school party, having a fellowship. And of course there's just lots of ways you can do that, whether that's a potluck at somebody's house, whether that's going out to eat someplace. I know some of our senior adults like to gather in the middle of the day and go out to lunch somewhere, or just use your imagination. It doesn't have to fit in a particular box. So just do something as a class outside of the church walls that get you all together, and especially eating. There's something about eating together that kind of breaks down barriers, and you can talk a little more freely than people do on a Sunday morning sitting in a Sunday school class. Also, many of you know that I'm a big proponent of the Josh Hunt theory of not only teaching in the classroom, but just Sunday school strategy as well. And one of his points that he has, that he tries to get across, is that to invite every member and every prospect to every fellowship every time you have one. And so consider that as you look at having a fellowship. Who is in the church that doesn't go to Sunday school? Do they fit in your class, age-wise? Invite them. Is there a neighbor that doesn't go to church anywhere? Invite them. So it's not just for your Sunday school class members. And in fact, as we look in the lesson in Luke chapter 14, we see that Jesus kind of says the same thing. And I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, verses 12 and 13. He says, just don't invite your friends to your party. Invite the friendless. Invite those people who aren't your friends. And so use that philosophy when you're thinking about your Sunday school party. Who is it outside of our realm of friends, outside of our Sunday school class, that we can invite that might come to know the Lord and might actually be involved in our church and in our Sunday school class at a later date? One of Josh Hunt's other points is that those who are opposed to the gospel are not opposed to ice cream. And what that means is that you will have some people who don't really want to step inside of a church, but they might come to a party. And so once people see that people can gather and have a party and have a good time and eat together, and they're not just a little bunch of robot Christians, they might be more likely then to come to your class or come to church. And so it's a good first step for a lot of people to come to outside the church Sunday school fellowship. Another point I'd like for you to think about and hopefully convey to your class is that hospitality is not just an event. It's not just a party. It's an attitude. It's a lifestyle. It's an attitude of being welcoming, of being inviting. And it doesn't matter if you're at Walmart, if you run into the checker who's had a bad day, you can still be welcoming and inviting to that person. It doesn't matter if you run into somebody in the store who you know, it's just being friendly is what that boils down to. Being a very welcoming, very inviting person. Neighbors. We know we live in a society where we don't know our neighbors as well as we used to several years ago. And there's a lot of factors that contribute to that. Many of you who were raised in the 50s and 60s kind of remember those times when the air conditioning wasn't as prevalent as it is today. People had porches and they'd sit out on their front porch and they would know their neighbors and talk to them a little bit more. We live in a society now where we can exit work and go into the parking garage, get in our car, drive home. As we pull up into the driveway, hit the button, our garage door opens, we go in, hit the button, the garage door closes, and we're in our cocoon until we exit the next morning. And so just a lot of things that go into us not knowing our neighbors as well as we used to. Another area which we do a fairly good job at our church, but we can always do a better job, and that is being hospitable to our guests. When you see somebody you don't know in church, just go out of your way to introduce yourself. And it doesn't matter if they've been a long-time member of the church and are first service people and they just happen to be in the second service and you're just now meeting them. It doesn't matter. So just go out of your way to be hospitable, to be friendly to people who you don't know. And when we do that, hospitality becomes more of a lifestyle and more of a part of us. So remember that hospitality isn't just an event, it's an attitude and a lifestyle that God calls us to be. Well, that's all I have for this week. Hope you have a great week, and I will see you Sunday.